Then the local authorities stopped the trains, all these, and there were men, in that box are a couple of our families, but there was thousands of people. So what they did, they stopped the train, and there was a labor camp in Oels near Breslau. City Breslau was a big city, and OELs, Oels, was the city where the labor camp was. So they got all the people, all the trains into the big labor camp, and there were barbed wire and all of that stuff. And we were like 14, 16 people to a room, double bunks, and just one little table, common toilets, where men and women went, all of that stuff. And our father was shoveling coal. There were big railroad yards. So every morning they marched a bunch of people, to workers, to warehouses and railroad yards, all of that stuff. And my mother and my sister was 2 years older. So she was going and she was unloading potatoes, doing something like that under German guard, every day, but there was not a maximum, security. Actually, the guard, we used to laugh at him. The guy's rifle was almost too long for him. He had a bad leg, was dragging on the ground, and all of that. And us kids, we did nothing. I mean, you're confined to all of that. So we kind of running around. We go by the fence, and I remember this is very, personally. There was this little blonde German girl. She come in and talk to us and all like that, and she bring in. I think she gave a piece of an apple through the barbed wire, all of that stuff. And see you tomorrow. We go in. We became, friends with that, all of that. And conditions were bad. You get a little kettle up there. You go in, get the soupy stuff every morning. You come back and all of that stuff, and worked your, my father. Oh yeah, for the hard workers, they give more rations.
Right.
They call it schwer Arbeiter, which is heavy duty worker, So they got more rations. I think they even got a little bit of meat and some butter once a month, a couple of grams and all that. So anyway, we linger around, and the nostalgia was Lithuanian people. I remember Christmas. And they let us, they were inside, they were not cruel, they didn't bug us that much, it just, they needed labor,
Right.
to run the factories because the men was at the front, So, so what the hell, where was I?
Christmas.
Christmas. And all the talk was that maybe, things gonna change. Germans gonna counterattack. They're gonna free Lithuania, and we gonna be in Lithuania next year. And I'm gonna choke up. So a few of the Lithuanians gather up there, and there was one music teacher. She got us kids, to do a choir, and one of the girls was reading some kind of national, very patriotic poem, and we were humming, and the people in the audience, tears.
Oh.
I mean, nostalgia and all of that
Right.
stuff. It was so, but yet the thing was that we thought that we could be, liberated. Well, anyway, just fast forward again, 1945, January. Russians are at the gates of Warsaw. And by the way, the cruelty of communists was this. The Warsaw Uprising, there was a Warsaw Uprising, a lot of Jewish people, they herded into one big area, and finally they had it enough, and they rose up against German government. I mean, with the handmade weapons and whatever, and I'm talking 200,000 of them, I'm not talking small amount.
Right.
They rose up, and Russians were at the border of the Vistula River out there, and for weeks and weeks, they would not cross and all of that stuff. And people saying that they wanted, the Jewish and Polish people to be wiped out. And they purposely stopped their armies for weeks on the Vistula River till Germans cruelly, very cruelly demolished Warsaw with the tanks and airplanes, and a massive amount of people. The Warsaw Ghetto uprising, I guess you could look it up.
Right.
Well, anyway, so they were really close to this Oels town where we were at, in Breslau, and strangely, during war, you almost feel the front coming to you because you hear rumbling, weeks ago, way out there, and then it gets closer, and there's more,
Noises
louder and
and
noisier and all of that. And then at nighttime, you even see flashes, and the front is moving in. So guess what? Our father and some other things, like 4 o'clock in the morning, it cut the barbed wire from the camp, saying Russians are coming again. So they cut the barbed wire, and all 5 of us men went to the train station. Train station was like a bunch of ants, because moving southwest, away from the Russians, everybody, including even some deserters from German army, all of that. It's a panic time, loaded up, and you cannot get in. We didn't have room and all of that, so we got between cars.
like where the
Yeah, between
Attached.
the cars up there, and this was February 1945. Colder than hell. We got some rags in our hands, holding on to the bars and with the train, and we moved out. And our father was really afraid. He was hiding underneath because there was German police. If they knew that you escaped from the camp, they shoot you right there on the side. So anyway, we got on the train, and we made our way to city of Dresden, and this was February 1945. Made to the city of Dresden, and
How far was that out? How long did it take
I
you to
think
get
there
there?
was like overnight, day and a half. Wasn't that
Okay.
really that long of a trip, but we got it.
So you
and
were
then
hanging on the train
You
that
were
whole
hanging
time.
on, and there was some boards that we put whatever bundles of clothes we had, all of that stuff. But we made it. We get to Dresden, and Dresden is one of the cities that was not bombed before. It was very historical. Churches, museums, no military value. There was nothing, in Dresden to be bombed. So we pull in, and just to show you the picture, what's in Dresden, you got bundles of, suitcases, bundles, bags, and stuff like that, and people sitting around, some of them almost to the ceiling, all that humanity. And there's people all over just sitting around and waiting again, something that's south, some west, trains. So for about 2 days we sat, and I remember one time a father went out somewhere with a little kettle and brought some soup, skinny soup up there, and we're colder than hell, we're freezing, we're hungry and all of that stuff, and we're just sitting around, we don't know what's happening. Then the rumors, there's a track so and so, there's a train gonna be loaded up, and everybody out there again, same story. And this time, not between the cars, but through a window. There was a bunch of stuff like that got shoved through us through the window. We got oh yeah, before that, just a little personal story. It was so cold and hungry and all of that stuff. And I remember there was a German woman. I think she was German woman, and she had like these furs and bundles of all of that with her family, and she was bundled up there, nice and cozy, and she had to go to the bathroom. So I got in there, and I got in those men's furs, and I said, I'm in heaven up there. And guess what? They come back, they drag my ass out of there by my collar and ship my ass out of there. Well, anyway, so we get out of the Dresden, and then February 14th, 1945, if you look up on the history or a computer, Dresden was wiped out. I mean, for
Oh
2
my
days,
gosh.
700 British bombers daytime, 800 American bombers at nighttime pounded the shit out of the city. It was melting, highways, all that people.
And when did you
And
leave?
we messed about 2-3 days prior to that. We just left
Jeez.
Dresden. And then we went to another city. Chemnitz was next stop up there, and we just left that. You're talking about luck. We just 2 days apart. Then they bombed the shit out of that Chemnitz up there. So we wound up, and our father said, I gotta give so much credit to my dad, saying, somehow if you make to the Swiss border, we went through Austria, part of Austria, and Bregenz in Lindau, where the cities near Swiss border, and he says maybe we can,
Slip
shoot our
across.
way and get across. But German border guards got us back, put us on the train. They said, "Get the hell out of there," and took us to Munich, to some kind of refugee camp in Munich. And I don't know how it happened, but out of Munich, we personally, not a group, but somehow we went to a small town in Bavaria, Kempten. We wound up in Kempten.